finally, back when they ran around first 2 weeks, they went up to the right there, and my current athletic director said, hey, you're graduated, what are you doing now? And I said, well, you know, I'm working delivering windows. He said, well, can you get a flexible schedule? Why don't you come out and coach track and field with us? So I begged my boss, and he said it was great, and he allowed me a flex schedule, we did all these combinations, and I started coaching track and field. I thought it was going to be 1 year. Now I'm up here, and I'm entering my 22nd year or something like that. It's crazy where life takes you. So when I look at these things, you know, I took the reins of a program, and a great program. And, you know, the start was great memories, great kids, and a whole lot of buck business. You know, you laugh at your D-hand over there, and Randy Wilkins, and all those guys, trust me, I learned some lessons in those early years. But I also learned something every day about coaching. I learned something every day about kids. And I learned something every day about myself. And I think it's really important. What I started was with a vision for what I wanted the program to be. And when you look at these things and you talk about this, you know, really, all great organizations have a vision. And I use Coca-Cola as an example, not because I drink Coca-Cola products. Actually, it's the opposite. You know, I'm one of those old school guys. I convince my kids to be disciplined and refrain from drinking pop during the season and talk about all this, that, and the other. So just the other day, I'm preparing this stuff, and one of my fathers said, you know, really, it kind of hits at me. You know, he said, Ellie came up in his first pop, and I think the whole season, and then he said, no, bigger the season for you. I said, well, yeah, you know, I'm all proud of it. Yeah, she's disciplined to this. I work for Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola pays the bills. So I gotta be careful of some of that stuff, but you know, any great organization has a vision of what they want to accomplish, how they want to go about it, and what they want to do. And I think any coach has to have that. You have to have consistent communication. You know, because here's the thing: kids are looking for something to believe in. You know what I mean? And people want to belong to something significant. Sports is a perfect example of that. They want to pay money to put something to be part of something, whether it's the kid or the parents or family. So you've got to give them a product that they can buy into. So when I where does my vision start with? Well, it starts right here. And this is our philosophy. And it says that all over the West School cross-country team members will take pride in their formation of this program. Your attitude and no certain commitment to achieve success. It is important that each member recognizes that all members are equal important for the team and can do far more than the individual can. Each team member will probably represent Milford High School, their families, their teammates, and themselves. Each team member will conduct themselves in a manner exceeding what is normally expected from a traditional team athlete. Each athlete will gain a greater knowledge of important training, mental focus, dietary control, and time management. They will then employ the knowledge to become the best possible athlete they can be. Our dedication to these ideas will develop an affection for running that fosters an interest as a participant and or spectator for the rest of our lives. I start every season by reading that. I wrote that in 1996, and I have not changed one word. And it's still what I believe our cross-country program should be. That has evolved into a lot of things that I find to be more significant. One of the things that's important, you understand that I come from Milford. I've lived in the same house since August of 1971. I drive the same route to school as I did as I rode the school bus, or drove as a youth. And I take a lot of pride in that. Well, in 1997, after we qualified the boys for the state finals, we qualified the girls for the state finals, I'm coming up with ways to get kind of focused and get everything together. I come across what is the simplest idea, but it still might be the best idea I've had in my career. It might be my legacy. I figured out there's 7 letters in Milford, and there's 7 people on a varsity team. So I went out, I got the t-shirt guy, I said, here's the deal. I want one letter plastered on the front of each shirt. The shirts are going to look hokey, they're going to look kind of weird, depending on the font you use, and I should pull up some of these, but you can't even recognize some of the letters when they're by themselves. But the point was being, I sat those kids down and I told them, I said, you know, you may walk into this, you may walk into the program as an individual. And I want to show you what an individual looks like. I hold up one letter. And I want to show you what a team looks like. And I line up all the shirts. And that's become a point of pride for us ever since. And that's one of those types of things that, you know, it embodies our philosophy of team. It connects with kids to where they're home. And it's something that kids will never forget. And so when you see us run around the state meeting, even this year, our girls, it's cold out. So you saw with the jackets on over top and the leather shirt still hanging out. because they're still going to wear those leather shirts, and they take pride in representing Milford High School. When I look at Milford High School, when you go through the history, some of you may be aware, some of you may not. And when we talk about the history of our program, we started in 1930. In 1930, we were Class D state runner-up. Alan Gooding was our #1 runner. He finished state runner-up that year. He ran like 11:23 for 2 miles. That was broke the previous state record. All those types of things. And when you look at it, it continued to evolve. A gentleman by the name of Lee April. Any of you that know Lee have fond memories of Lee. And I tell you, he's one of my favorite people. And I've had a chance to spend a lot of time with him over the years. And he guided the program for a couple of years. And if you really want the whole story on why he left, that's a great story, but that's for another time. So he left, and they had to find somebody to replace him. Lo and behold, who they get? Charlie Jakey. Charlie Jakey comes over from Southfield. He's the practice cross-country coach. Again, these are Hall of Fame people that are coming through our neighborhood. Charlie Lee and Jerry Reese is in charge. After Jerry Reese is Jim Moran. In 1970, Moran says, you know what? I got this young guy, Gene Bauweiser. He's more qualified, more energetic, and ready for this. I'm going to turn the program over to him. And Gene Bauweiser coached from 1970 to 1995. And then that's where I come in. I have the opportunity to follow these legends and be part of this program. Now, the one crazy thing is in 1995, we're only losing season we've ever had, or had in a long time. And so that took a little bit of the edge off of it. But cross country is all about people. Okay? And you're going to hear that tone ring throughout. When I talk about my people, of course, are Gene Bauweiser. He was my coach and my mentor, and everything with Gene was about class. And that's going to hold, every one of my athletes are going to know that for the rest of my coaching career. Chris Teresa, as I said, he was my friend coach. He was my mentor. He's my friend. He can sell a dream to any kid out there. I mean, when you want to talk about somebody that can make a difference. Elizabeth Smith, the top photo, Elizabeth is sitting over here. Elizabeth's been family with me since high school, but we've been coaching together for 18 years. And, she tells it like it is, and I give her all the credit in the world for tolerating me for that long. And that's for sure. Sylvia Teresa, Chris's wife, she's our scorekeeper. If anybody's ever been to one of our meets, she's not a score giver. So when people come up and want to know what their time or place was, that's somewhere else. She has a shirt that says it. The guy at the bottom, I took this picture on a bicycle. If you don't know anything, he's not here, he's not able to join us here tonight. That's Mike Anderson. Mike Anderson is a 2005 graduate for us. Mike recently won the Detroit Marathon. And I want to tell you, it was one of the most thrilling experiences I've been through. Me and my best friend are on a bicycle. We're traveling the city of Detroit with Douglas with other people. And we were following the race. And when he goes on to Belle Isle, he tells me, hey, you're down to minute 54. And he's asking about, well, where's third place? I said, heck of third place. First and second look terrible. And the long and the short of it is, he didn't take the lead in the marathon until they got to the 26-mile mark. And then we went by the guy and ran down the home stretch. And in fact, the announcer announced the wrong person because the last update he got was Zachary Hollis was leading the race. An amazing experience and cool thing. And, that's one of those things that surrounding our kids with inspirational people is important. Mike Camilleri is here with us tonight. Mike is a Lakeland graduate from Anchor Wilkes. If you can find Wilkes, you're tough. And he coached for years with us. This year he coached for Tom Hardy. One of those guys that comes and does everything for us. Our coaching staff, the way I run our program, I have to have, at minimum, there's to be 3 of us. And that's because we have to have supervision, we have to have continuity, we have to have flexibility. We have kids fast, and you guys all know, and we have kids that are really slow. And we have boys and we have girls, and we have to be able to be as effective as possible. We wouldn't be anything without the people that support us. Running Run has been a blessing for us, and has done a lot of great things for our program and myself personally. Put the sports for attendance in Metro Park. You've heard been off the park, a great place. Listening to studies, reading our business, all those things are important to how we go about it. And when we talk about what we want to do, it's really about the community. And we want to be part of that community. We're a family, boys and girls, we're going to use it to be the best they can be. Part of the family is having those people in your life that are important. They're all done? Yeah. I'll introduce you to my wife, Katie, and my son, Miles. Miles will turn 1 year and 3 weeks. They're just over 11 months. He's just gotten his his first pair of running shoes, and he is just, non-stop. We set him down, he will run up and down the hallway, and I'm sure that's what he's doing right now. But that family is a big part of it. Kate teaches in elementary school. As agents that are married and coaching, you know that she's my sounding board, and she's as passionate about the kids and the team as I am. And we certainly couldn't do that without them. That's my number there. He's cute. I know. That's in his first relay time. That's why I'm coming to track. We do have, this is kind of a cool thing, within 2 years, we have 4 boys on our coaching staff. That our track and field coaching staff. We have 4 boys that were born within 2 years. So we're running already, we're looking for the 2028, 2029 track and field. Miles is going to run third in the relay, so we're going to have to figure it out. But we kind of built ourselves with, we talked about a mantra. Years ago, reading through a magazine, just like you steal things from me. Some girl in California said, I practiced the 3 Ds, dedication, determination, and delivery. And these are things that for years we print, we post, we talk about that. It's important to us, dedication, doing it every day, not just when it's convenient. Determination, when it's going gets tough, you get tougher. Delivery, being able to perform at the most meaningful times. And those are things that we pride ourselves on. We've evolved that and really kind of, when we reflect and talk about the student athlete. And I want those guys to understand that commitment to excellence. It's what I tell my son all the time. You know what I mean? Whether he's understanding it yet or not, he will in his future. It's like, I want him to be a good athlete. I want him to be a great student. And I want him to be an outstanding citizen. Those are the things that I expect of him. With this commitment to excellence, people, as you said, excellence is best sought in a community with a common vision. And when people want to succeed, they want to share success. And we put, we say this, put your name on everything. Everything you do, put your name on it. Take pride in the name being put on it. Know that you're not turning in junk, you're not representing junk. You have a commitment to excellence, and that is important. And the other thing to understand is being great takes focus. It doesn't happen accidentally. It's not by happenstance. It's something that demands your attention. So as we take this out in our community, we want to make sure our economy is there. Whether it's helping out with the local groceries, or just being at the festival, or being around town. We live in the community. I want to connect with the community. I want the parents and everyone in the community to know who I am. I'm the track and cross country coach at Over High School. And we put out all kinds of youth things events. We do 3 top relays. We do a twist and shake mile. We do the Halloween hustle. Which, I got to tell you, I want you to hear about that. So this is for my wife's 5th grade elementary. We do the Halloween hustle. We bring over 200 kids came over. K through 2 ran 500 meters. 3rd grade and 5th grade ran 1,000. They're in their costumes and everything else. I get a phone call from a friend. Former parent of mine who says, hey, I saw the stuff you're on. I just want to let you know, one of my friends has that name copyrighted for a road race. I don't think they're going to take legal action against you, but you may want to change that. And fortunately, it's on a voicemail, so I didn't answer. They could have the net proceeds of $0, and if they'd like to incorporate the hours of work to put it together, by all means, take control of our Halloween hustle. So we're going to have to change the name next year to avoid, litigation. But we do a lot of things to try to get kids and families inspired about running, connected to our school, our community. Those are important. And inside of this presence, we've got to communicate. Whether that's through the computer, email, and posting, and Facebook, and internet, and Twitter, and all those things that you're doing. Posters, and things that are in the paper, and working on all things. And just being out there shaking hands with the babies. Those things are important for us. We want to have presence. Okay? Those 2 young men right there, 2 guys who ran for me, they are 2 graduates of the Air Force Academy, and they are currently flying for our U.S. Air Force. And then, they were on the 2003 state championship team, and that's them showing that they got to go for times with the 2011 state championship team. It's like that connection is important to us because those people care. I always think, interacting with student athletes, I treat them like they're adults. And sometimes there's a learning curve with that. I'm not going to, one of my assistant coaches said, I'm not very upset. He implied it. He's right. But, it's one of those things like, I'm not going to allow them to use excuses for not being accountable for their actions. I want to talk to them like they're adults. I want to hold them to the standard. I know they're human. They're going to make mistakes and they're going to talk to them, I want them to look in the eye. I want them to respect the fact that I'm trying to teach and educate them. I'm working hand in hand, hopefully, with their parents. Speaking of parents, you want parents to be involved. Parents want to be involved. We all talk about this. I mean, I keep my parents in arm's length away. That's important to me. I'm not cozying up. Hanging out with my parents is not a good idea. And now as I get in, listen to that thing, it changes in terms of age. When I was younger, I didn't want to hang out with my parents when they were old. Well, now I'm old. I figured out those things need to be. Because I want to establish that. But here's the thing. I want to ask them to help. I want to thank them for the help. I want to develop a good working relationship in which they can contribute to the success and enjoyment of the program and their kids. So I think that's important. One of the things I want to talk about is the summer program. In terms of for us, it's really about structuring the summer program. And, we want to make sure here's Blue. Where's Blue at? I saw her. Blue Marimani is kind of got to come out and speak to our kids at one of the summer things we do. And that's what we try to do. We try to reach out and call my people that have years and years of wisdom, that have great lessons for our kids so they can hear it. But, we're out there and we're trying to organize a plethora of activities. When we talk about putting that calendar together, I want stations. I don't want to do everything in 3 days and then not see them for a month. I want to see them and make sure it's consistent, make sure everything's going out there. But I got to have the kids out. So I got to recruit. In terms of what is recruiting, when I hear stacking things from kids in middle school that want to come to North Cross and want to hear something and learn something about Milford High School, I handwrite letters to every kid. Still to this day. Every kid gets the first one I handwrite letters. I know most of the middle school kids that are coming. And then, when they're coming, I send them booklets. And I'll talk about this later, but they get this. This is our booklet. It has all the information. It's motivational, it's inspirational, and it encompasses what we do. I attend the track meets, I attend the other functions. I want to be out there. I want those kids to be part of our program. When I get ready for the summer, I put together a summer training package. You got to put something similar on a shirt. Has all the information. Again, it's informational and motivational. I have basically a copy of this in between the breaks. Coach Taylor is going to help me. He's going to sell Lyle's College Fund packets. If you wanted to take a look at that, it has all the workouts, everything that we have. There's a summer training booklet. It has a TPF homework. It has all kinds of stuff. So we'll have that available. But this is the kind of stuff that we're doing. We're putting in our hands. I host organizational meetings. I call my meetings starting line meetings. I want every athlete and every parent there. I want to set the tone for what we're going to do this summer. And we have that the first Monday out of school. And it really kind of gets people organized and energized. But once we get all that stuff going, well, then we got the content. We have fun runs. We meet at the school. I look at it as everybody wants a positive environment to meet, hang out, have fun. I mean, people want to meet, want places to meet besides Starbucks. We do fun runs Tuesdays and Thursdays. On Wednesdays, we do what's called Wacky Wednesdays. We try to get out the community, various places that we run to expose them to new things. We have all kinds of fun things. We do the one we refer to as the Noodle Relays. The Noodle Relays are a product of years ago. Me and my two best friends did this experiment. We were young and dumb and all those type of things. We went to this thing and said, wow, this thing is really cool. And I got to be honest, it was kind of baffling to us because they went, you had to cue first, and then you had to do all these tasks, then you had to run, and then you did these tasks, and then you had to go right. And this is really precursor of all these adventure races. We missed the goal. We should have started right there with our little adventure race and made our billions like these other people that went on to do this. But we did. But we were in this, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, we were ahead of the professionals. Because the run came before the bike, and most of those guys are bikers. And so we did okay in the canoeing, and then we ran by everybody, and then they got in their bike, and they had to stop and take your shoes out of both your front and back tires, and put them back in, and reassemble your bike, and then your bike. And we're sitting there with hand pumps like this, and these guys got CO2 cartridges, the bikes are gone. Not to mention they're way better bikes. But we took the ideas from like, hey, this is crazy. Let's work with the kids. It's really for our own amusement. To be honest, we sit around and we think about all these crazy tasks that we do. And whether that's, let's say, eating a can of spinach in the middle of the race, or, having to balance something, or, I'll give you an example. To start the race, I had all the kids take off their shoes, and we throw them all in the middle of the lake. Go swim out there, find your shoes, that's the start. Life is not fair. Neither is our race. Let's go. And so we do, it's kind of a crazy event. I do 2 time trials in the summer. I will run them under the lights if it's hot. It's only 2 times I run at the track in the entire cross country season. We run at the track in the track season. I don't run on the track in cross country season. We run on grass. We run on the conditions that we're going to race on. My time trials are also very controlled. I'm very authoritative, I will say, at times. But the kids understand that we're not racing. We're trying to advance our fitness. We're trying to work together. And we're trying to do what we can to get there. In summer, we also do lifting with the coach. We have a strength and conditioning coordinator at the fitness room and stuff like that. My kids, I'm going to be there. And that goes back to my philosophy that if you're going to ask somebody to work hard, you better work hard too. And that's ingrained in me. And I want to be there to supervise and make sure my kids are doing what I want them to do. I provide them with motivational material all the time. I want to keep them thinking, I want to keep them dreaming, and I want to keep them achieving. And I think that's important. So, our summer program has a lot of different things, and most of it isn't about running. But it is about being active and doing things. In the training section, I'll talk more specifically about what we do in terms of running. We also organize camps, and you talk, say, I want to point out, in this very room, tomorrow morning, 8:30, who's in Carl, Becky, and Michael are going to be here doing something on camp. I encourage you to come and attend. It's always beneficial to say, hey, even if you're happy with everything you do, you're going to pick up on one nuance that's going to make your camp better, and I think that's important. So check that out this morning. When we organize camps, to build relationships, it's pretty fun. It's pretty memories. It's love going to camp. Oftentimes when you mini camps, I've introduced a couple people to Pat Schluck. I don't know if Pat Schluck is the head coach at Larry Davidson. He's a good friend of mine, and he came up this year from his team was state runner-up in Ohio. They actually finished runner-up by 2 points this year. He had won, in fact, in 2002, his boys and girls both won the Ohio State Championship the same year. He had a number of great teams. But we bring those kids together, and it gives you a chance to really kind of feed off of each other and learn and share from other hardworking kids. And also to understand that there's kids like you everywhere. I mean, there's a sense of belonging, there's a sense of realization, and your kids distract from that. And so we love doing different things like that. We do it 1 or 2 days, stay over. We don't care how early we sleep or what we do. We make anything work. I do a group camp with my kids. We go to every boy and girl on my team. The structure is 3 days, 2 nights. We rough it. We're going out at Kensington. There's no running water. There's no electricity. Now, that sounds really tough. But the fact of the matter is the parents bring in all the food. And that is sometimes it's competitive. Well, you guys had this last year for lunch. Well, we see our table lunch. They roll them out on the table. But it is a great endeavor. And it's something that allows us to get every kid to camp. Why is this important? This is important because of my team camp, as I'll talk about in a minute. The one challenge I do, sometimes I do that, and my middle school camp. I run a middle school camp for the local kids, 5 days, hour and a half each. This year I had 92 kids at the middle school camp. And this helps our local kids. It's early. It's not hard. Because I'm not trying to discourage kids. I'm just trying to get them to run for a week before they start school. Some of them have run with it, most of them have not. That's okay. There's no hardcore training. I try to teach them the things that they can implement. I try to give them the tools for the toolbox. I try to create for the play. I charge $30 a kid. We give them a t-shirt. We give them a camp photo. We have ice cream at the end. It's not a profit thing. It's about making connections. Those kids know who I am. And those kids have a great time in the sport across the country. So they can continue to go on, and that's important. It also gives my kids a chance to find out, when we do the little meet and divide up. Easy way to do this. I have 8 teams, everybody's a team color. I don't care which purple shirt you have, just bring a purple shirt, you're on the purple team. They show up, their teams are all excited. I have kids, I sign them the teams, you gotta get the ticket, you gotta score the meet, you gotta turn it in, you gotta be responsible. You gotta run the shoot. You're the official timer, don't screw up. Make sure you have that in the right way. You give my kids appreciation for what it takes to do something. Team camp. There are a lot of ways to conduct camp. This is how we do ours. We do limit the attendees, partly because I coach boys and I coach girls. And so when I look at that, I have to have control and monitor numbers. This is a varsity camp for me. And it's, I offer my summer, everybody's welcome to everything. We take 1 week a year. For some of my kids, that sometimes it's difficult. Because we are an all-inclusive environment. But I need a varsity and I need to go. So we go 7 days to Upper Peninsula. My dad has a house in Rapid River. I was going to say, you know where Rapid River is? It's like right here. Right before you head down to Gladstone on the low road. And it's a great place because for years the cell phones didn't work there. That's good stuff. When we travel, kids aren't allowed to use headphones or anything in their ears. I want them interacting and speaking with their teammates. I don't want them on their cell phones when they're there. They call mom and do those kind of things. I don't collect the phones. I don't like, but it's subversive. And it's the boys are sex outside, the girls are inside. There's 2 rooms, bunk houses in the house. The girls are inside. I sleep on the floor in the living room in between. I had a military father this year with a freshman daughter who was coming, and he called me and said, I have some questions about this. And I explained to him how I conduct this. And when we got done, he said, thank you very much. I trust that you will do a good job. And we take great pride in doing things the right way, and we're not, this is not a screwball around. This is very important. But, when I go to teen camp, the week before my kids get their homework, it's just like an AP class. They have all the stuff that they need to do. And as I said, I can Xerox some of that stuff for you. But it's assignments that are reflective based for that. I want them to search and find out what's important now. In their dictionary, I want them to find out where they're going to go and what they're going to do. And when we get there, we can take that information, we convert it, and we do use it every day. 24/7 is accounted for. I'm in charge, or my assistant coach Lindy, all the time. There's no unsupervised time or anything like in that regard. I mean, there's free time. We're not playing games in the back 40 or whatnot, but kitchen crew. We sign the kids in a day. They do all the food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They clean it up, they wash the dishes, and then when they're time to go, somebody else does it. It teaches them responsibility. Some kids touch these things called vegetables at camp. They actually eat vegetables. I mean, it always amazes me. You haven't seen a kid like, I never eat this at once. Oh, carrot. We're not going anywhere until you eat the carrot. Really? Yes. You know what I mean? We're teaching about nutrition. We're teaching about those things. Goal setting activities. I'm going to lead to that in a minute. We spend an hour a day with each group. We have other activities to pursue it. I'll meet with the boys. We'll talk about goals for an hour. And we'll come back the next day and reflect on what we discussed the day before and how that's going to move forward. And I'll switch with the girls. We play Milford Cross Country Jeopardy. And it's cutthroat and it is intense. And it's all questions related to the history of our program. I want those kids to know. I want them to know what it takes to get on every all-time list. I want them to know how many state champions we've had. I want them to know everything about our program, and I want it to be important to them. So, these are the types of things, I also put out there, somewhere along the way we also run. But this isn't about we run. The introduction of the downtime versus this and what's appropriate, I now had to go to camp in the month of July. Because I can't separate once August 13th and I'm not going through in the downtime. I'm trying to be as overly compliant as anything. So the intensity of our workouts is certainly reduced. Because we're in July, we're not the second week of August. So those things have kind of changed. But this has really shaped and molded our perspective of the season. And, it is something that the kids have a lot of fun. This is what the kids got qualified. They said, I don't care what they pick themselves. They have criteria for how many fun runs and things they show up for. They have criteria based on the mileage, based on their grade and their gender. They have, in the time trials, they have times based on their age and their gender. They know whether they're going or not. It's a harsh reality sometimes. The kids want to go. And I'm not set on a set number. We find that, because kids have got to be able to run with the next group. If you can't run with the person in front of you, how do I take you for 10 miles in the woods? I had to be able to run with that. When we talk about goal setting, as I said, we go through this very extensively. And I've done a number of different presentations on this at various locations, but when we start with a team goal, we start with a pillar. These are the foundation words that are most important to us. In this particular example, you'll see that pride, preparation, leadership, sacrifice, excellence, commitment, work ethic, brotherhood, strength, focus, and fun were selected by this particular team. That gives us something that we're going to go from there. We're going to recognize what we're going to commit to. What is important for us to acknowledge and recognize in terms of what we want to commit to for the upcoming season. Then we're going to discuss what is necessary, what are the goals we want to do, and what is necessary for those goals. And our goals are very well rounded. We're not going to center on one particular event or one particular aspect. I'm going to encourage the kids to address goals that address our JV team and its success. We're going to set an academic accountability, whether that's a team grade point average or a number of, making sure that everybody's above a 3.0, or something that when we sit in the study hall, they know what they're looking for, they know that it matters. They're student athletes. I use that term all the time. I never refer to them as athletes. Student athletes, to let them know that that's important. We publish a great report at the end of the marketing period. We take pride when a kid earns an award here at MITCA, academic all-state, or our team does something, and we not only promote that. I'm paid to the back of my booklet of my valedictorian. And it's like that kind of stuff to let those know. Some of them are really fast and some of them are all-staters. Some of them are slow with molasses and we love them just the same. But it's to let those kids know, the best kids in the school. That's what cross-country is about. And that's the cool thing, to let those kids know that they're all part of it. After we have everything, we selected and we've been through, everybody agrees upon this is what we're going to go. I have them sign it so that kids have ownership. Your signature's on them. This is not hollow. This is meaningful. And that really is important for me is to make sure that your eyes don't give back, put it in a place you can see it. Make sure it's visible at all times. And here's the thing. I generally have two goals. My goals don't change. My first goal is for us to be the best team that we can be. And I have enough experience in coaching cross country that I can assess whether we were the best team that we could be or not. The second goal that I have is to have our kids care more about their teammates than other teams do when they toe the line at a state final. That's my goal, is to make that happen. That they care more about their teammates than other people they're competing against. Because we're going there as a team, and we're competing as a team. When we look at individual goals, and these are important as well, one of the important things we do is we differentiate between levels of goals. We have acceptable goals. Those are better than you've done before. Something you would be proud of achieving. And we make sure that they list 3 acceptable goals. They can be in time, they can be in place, they can be getting a medal, a particular invitational, they can be improving upon a certain mark. They could be, I want them to be tangible because I want them to be able to make sure that they can determine whether they've achieved it or not. I want challenging goals. Challenging goals, as I explained to them, stand up, when your coach stands up at the banquet next to you, are you proud when he talks about what you achieved? That's a challenging goal. Are you beaming when you're sitting in next to coach and he says, you finished 13th in the county? Or he says, you ran 26 minutes and that's 4 minutes faster than you ran last year. Make that challenging goal, make it something that you want to be. And then we put out there, we put dream goals. Dream goals are perfection and maybe a little bit more required. This is where your scale is usually moving up, but you're saying there's a chance. Yes, there is a chance. And those dream goals, those are fun. Because I want them to be out there. And when I talk about dream goals, I always use and Aaron Washington talking about this one. The gentleman I had years ago, Tom Rich was a senior. His goal as a senior year was to run under 150, to run under 410, and to run under 910 or something like that. And so when he got to the end of the season, he ended up running 9:33, breaking the school record in 3200. I know that time's not crazy, but that was in the first invitational of the year, and we couldn't afford to run in 32 after that. He broke the school record by 4:12.7 in the 1600 at the conference meet. He won the meet by 7 seconds or something like that. And then he went out of the nationals that year. He ran 150.81. Okay? And when you look at that, you say he fell short of all 3 of his dream goals. So when we got to bet every day, that's what he talked about. We're running 150, we're running 410, we're running 910. Those are the things that got him through there. They were perfectly placed. He just didn't get it. There's nothing wrong with that. But we don't just set running goals. We set academic goals. We set nutritional goals. I'm going to eat a piece of fruit every day. Or I'm not going to eat 3 cookies with my lunch. Whatever that may be. We're going to set rest and recovery goals. I'm going to make sure I get to bed by a certain time. I'm going to make things. And I'll have their teammates. If I have a group that's not women group, I'll assign accountability buddies. Hey, talk to your accountability buddy. Are you meeting your rest and recovery goal? It only takes a minute. No, not knowing what I should. Okay, that reminder, that keeps things in there. I have teammate goals. What are you going to be able to do to help somebody else? And how can you do that? And it may be saying hello to somebody at each day, a different person each day. It might be running, finding time to call somebody at my Saturday run that I don't really run with. Whatever, find a teammate goal. It might be help somebody find their way around the school to their freshmen. And then, you talk about practice goals. What are you going to do every day in practice to make yourself better? Is it anything going to happen in a day, a minute, or an hour? It's one of those types of things we've got to keep going. So these are all part of things. Again, I get them, but it also gets me inside that important training there. Now I know what they're thinking. Now I know what this leads to one of the most important parts of coaching. I'm finding what makes that kid tick. Because they're not all the same. And as I talk team, I have to address the individual within that team. I always use the example, I had couple years ago, I had two great runners on the boys team. Tony Stanley, Brian Keller. Both were outstanding. A lot of races, both of their plans was to win the race. But they were going to run the team stuff first, and then we had to address how they were going to run their best race. The county meet, Cody won. And the regional and the state meet, Brian won. You know what I mean? Like, they were there, and they weren't competing. And the thing I want you to understand is, they never once ran against each other. They were running against themselves. They were competing to be the best they could be. And when they got to shoot, the other guy beat them, they turned around and they high-fived them. And I say they hugged them, but that's more, they didn't do that. They're high-fiving each other. They do those things. But it's important for us to really understand what makes those kids tick. So I Xerox them, after I see what they are, I want them to post them. I want them to see them. I tell them, put it by your bedstand, put it by your mirror, your bathroom, put it in your locker. I want you to see those all the time. I don't want you to stare at them or be infatuated with them. I want them to be constant reminders of why you make the sacrifices you make. People ask me this question all the time. How do you approach the state finals? State finals week is one of my favorite weeks of the year. I love going to state finals. And I want my kids to understand that love and enthusiasm doesn't mean it's a vacation. Okay? We talk about, we take a family vacation, we take boys and girls, family vacation to Brooklyn. It's not as maybe sunny or warm as it's going down to Florida, but it's still a family vacation. But I don't want to have a vacation mentality. We want to work them like a pro. We're not going there to watch the race. We're going there to run the race. It is an honor and a privilege for us to run against your kids, the best kids in the state of Michigan. We want to be part of that. We want to make it better. So as we look at that, there's a lot of things that we do and how we go about that. One of the things that we always have this question: alternates. How do people handle alternates? Well, as you can tell, I want to involve people, but I'm not bringing everybody as an alternate. And I know different people have different philosophies. Again, I coach the boys and the girls. So my numbers and my focus have to be unanimous. So when I have alternate, okay, I basically come up with 3 criteria for an alternate. What have you done to prove that you're a varsity level person? We had some great JV teams. I told you at the beginning, I'm a JV runner. I want our JV team to be great. I want them to care. A lot of times those kids will be varsity in other places. Ironically enough, as I tell the story this year, I had a great JV team. Unfortunately, a lot of those guys were thrust onto varsity because we didn't have a great varsity team. And that means they were freshmen and sophomores that were cut to their teeth, and they were a great JV runner. But I look at this. What have you done to prove that you belong as a varsity team member? I ran all summer. I ran hard in this meet. I just won a little JV invitation or whatever, or I did this and this and did that. Also, how will you help our state tournament team? It's not about you. It's about us. How are you going to help these people? How are you going to help us be better? And then the second thing is, what are you going to take from this experience that's going to help you in the future? As a senior is going to be alternate, they have to really be one of those special kids. I'm not saying I'm not taking a senior. We've all had those kids that have just busted their butts, and they're part of the fabric of what your team is, and you got to take them. But I'm looking at for the next generation. I want them to gain from this experience. I use this picture here. This is our 2011 state championship team. 3 of those guys, the 4 sophomores are alternates that year. 3 of those guys the next year ran 16:01 or faster and helped us win the state championship the next year. They were alternates. They were GP guys. They were there. They were putting up the tent. They were cheering those guys on. They were warming up like they were racing. It was not, hey, cool, we get to play fair because we don't have to run. It's serious business. When we talk about, the state finals, the will to succeed means little without the will to prepare. It's the coach's responsibility to cover the details and all the preparation. In my mind, the kids should be relaxed, and everything should be consistent with your approach to meet on terror. The work and all the preparation everything falls on my end. I want to make sure I've dotted my I's and crossed my T's. Our practice, dress code. This is something that we do. You see, it's a fuzzy picture. Those kids in the back all have the same over cross-country t-shirts. The week of the state meet, I have bags of shirts. Every year I get a different color and kind of throw in the mix. And each day, our kids that are qualified for state finals and alternate, if you're part of the state finals team, you wear that shirt in school, you walk down the field with it. Why would it bring over cross-country? It creates interest in the school and makes people ask them why they're wearing it. 2 is, it creates unity and a bonding of the team. 3 is, I'm an art teacher, I'll talk about this later, I talk about the importance of the power of color. When you talk about, why are we wearing this color? And I tell those kids, we're wearing green. Why? Because everybody's envious of us. And you know why? Because green is a healthy color. And we're an outdoor sport, and we embrace the nature that is cross-country. And they wear those shirts to practice, and they run through the workouts wearing those matching shirts. And when practice is over, they throw them in a big wad, and I give them the shirt for the next day, and we talk about what color they're wearing tomorrow. That's until Friday. Friday, they dress up. And we dress for success. We talk about practices. Our practices in preparation for the state finals are purposeful. And I know we say, well, all our practices are purposeful. Here's the thing. I have to prepare the kids for running an event that includes 240 kids that are essentially the same. No matter what invitationals you go to, it's not on par with the state. Because I tell you, we go to the open county, we take great pride in the county. You can put 300 kids on the starting line. And guess what? Some of those kids aren't very good in the varsity race. Because the team programs are not very highly competitive. So after the race goes, our kids don't know it. So one of those kids are out the back door 100, 200, 300 meters in. So they're only racing a segment of that race. But the fact of the matter is that you need to compete in the state finals. If you're trying to be a boy, if you're trying to run 16:45, it's tough. If you're trying to be a girl, if you're trying to run 19:45, it's nearly impossible. Every step is manipulated and you're cut off and you're bumped into. I mean, it's crazy. The other thing is, where have any of you ever been that is a facility that is like MITCA? The sheer magnitude of the place is incredible. I mean, the size is just evolving. So you have to prepare your kids to understand that that's the only place they're going to run that's like that. So they've got to have that. The thing that's also important to me is creating a feeling of unity. I allow the kids to compliment each other, both verbally and in written form. And this is important because this starts coming back to all the things we created in camp. Recognizing the significance of each of your teammates. I make sure everybody knows their roles and their role is important. I meet individually with the kids throughout the week to discuss what's on their minds, to calm their anxieties, and to work on setting forth what they need to do in order to be successful. These things are all important. It's a big picture. For us, alumni are a big part of what we do. They've been there. They've enjoyed it. So we're trying to connect with the alumni. I may collect notes from the alumni, pass them on to the kids. I may do different things. I want them to know that they are representing Milford High School and our community. And that our school and our community is behind them. That we support them and we believe in them. And that's part of having the proper mindset to compete in the state finals. The state finals day itself, a lot of you do the first thing. We have a picnic after. One parent started days ago, we got kicked out of the parking lot. So now we have a different location to go to. Everybody is invited. We have a super fan bus. That's my JV team. Depending on the breakdown of my school, some years we brought 2 buses to the state finals. Kids want to come and see the kids. It depends on the personality you're after. Some years you have kids that everybody gravitates towards. Sometimes they're just cross-country kids. But the JV kids are out there, that bus, and anybody else. But afterwards, we bring the family and the kids together. We have a meal together, and it's just that kind of like quality time. But one of the things that I do that I think is different than a lot of people, and it's something that is very important to me is, after the meet, we come back to school and we have a post-team activity. And this is my belief. Whether it be prom, or graduation, or their last game of the season, those are the most likely times for kids to make bad choices. Whether it be about alcohol or other things, that's when they're going to go out and blow off the steam. That's when they're going to say, hey, your steam is over. You can do whatever. And I'm not going to allow my kids that opportunity to make that bad choice. So I'm going to spend the rest of that day with them. It's a sacrifice for me, my coaches, and everybody else. But that's something that we do because we want to make sure that we're giving our kids a chance to be successful. We've done swim parties, we've done bowling, we've played laser tag, we've set up minutes to win it, we've done an amazing race around our school. This year we went geocaching. There's a lot of different things, and I got to give credit. Now I turn that over to my sister, Elizabeth Smith, and she organizes it, and she says, we're going to do this, and I go, you know what I mean? Because I got to focus on other things, and she does a great job with that. And it's our kids. Their parents pick them up at the end of the day, and they're packed. They can barely stand up. They're so tired. And it's like, and you wake up tomorrow, and then you go about your life. Because you're not going to have that opportunity for this decision. Lastly, or close to lastly, for this section, I do want to talk about the fact that banquets and things are important to me. I want to put on a good show. I have kids who dress for success. I have original comments prepared for every kid. And I know it's like, well, yeah. Here's my notes for this is 2012. This is every kid's card that I pre-prepared with what's going to happen, what I'm going to say about them, what they've done. I put a slideshow together at their best time, a picture of them, all those types of things. It's very comprehensive, it's very organized, it's very structured, and to be honest with you, it's very impressive. The awards. I don't present awards to my kids. My alumni. In order to present an award, you have to be a prior recipient of that award. So if you earn the MVP award, it's an MVP prior MVP recipient. That could be. You know, as you look through it and say, well, who's going to present the MVP award this year? And you go through this, and we have a list in our booklet of all the past winners of every award. So I will select somebody that maybe reflects. I'll say, hey, you know what? Barry Stonehammer was the team captain in 1973. I get a hold of Barry and say, hey, Barry, would you like to come in and accept the award for our captain? And when Barry comes in, we talk about how great he was, the things that he had accomplished. Those kids receive that award from Barry Stonehammer. And it's meaningful. And when a kid wins it, they go, you know what? Someday, I'm going to come back and accept that award. And it's a really cool thing. I do give standard awards for your thing that your local trophy shop makes. And then I make awards. Our 4-year letter awards, our highest award, I make them out of walnut. I don't need to tell you how much time it takes to hand-make the plaques. But I can tell you that I make everyone's pride. The kid's a 4-year letter winner in my program. He's certainly done some great things. The booklet, you heard me talk about this. This is one of my points of pride. And I don't have them to sell. They're very important to me. They're part narrative tales, they're part record books, and they certainly are memories. And the history of our program is certainly identified in this. And again, you don't want to know how much time it takes to put that together. But I will give you a hint that I did schedule a banquet, and we are going December 17th. And if I start tomorrow, I will be prepared. And but I want them to know that I'm going to work hard every day, so that when I ask them, it's not hollow or fluff. When I look at our program, and we talk about the things we do, there's a lot of things that point to pride. If you've ever been to Milford, you understand that we have, natural geography is a big thing for us. We have a lot of hilly and undulating terrain. We have a lot of accessible dirt roads. We have numerous parks and trails. And that's a great place to run. And I want kids to know that. And I'm going to tell you what, a lot of my kids go to college really have a hard time with that. And it's not that they can run with where they go or what they do. They just don't know that you don't run every run on a backyard road where there's no cars, no people. I mean, it is a transition. And as I talk about our history, I want them to know about our history. I want them to embrace it. You know what? I want them to add to it. And then, this is the thing, and we talk about that quality kid. You guys all know you have the best kids in school. Those are kids taking 18 classes. Those are kids that say please and they say thank you. And that's one of the things when people, other sports ask us about our sport, I say, I just want you to work with these kids. That's something that's a point of pride for us all the time. And then the last thing that I want to touch on is middle school. Some people have middle school feeder programs, some don't. The key elements of our middle school feeder program, again, is that it's not the needs they run or anything they do, is people. And we're going to come back to that notion. These two guys over here, they're bundled up. This is a cold day. That's Mike Stevenson, who coached at Highland Middle School for a number of years. He was my coach for a number of years, and Chris Brewer. And the thing those guys did, they're retirees now, they got people out. They gave them a reason to get excited about cross country. And then they passed those kids along the way. And that's it. Nowadays, the two primary feeder schools for us are Oak Valley with Jerry Herron and Muir Middle School, which is coached by Shelley Gustafson and Eric Griffin. And they do an incredible job with those kids for you. In fact, I have Eric Griffin here. I'd like to ask Eric to come up and join me for a second. Eric is our middle school coach, and I told him I was going to put him on the spot a little bit here. So, Eric, all right. What do you think is the key things in running a middle school program in history?
I think for us, probably the biggest part is mimicking everything that they do. I mean, we literally have anything and everything that he's ever done is available. So I just have to run a program. I just have to get the kids out, and then we do the same type of workouts, the same type of warm-up.
I would say a degree of difficulty.
Yeah. Everything is scaled down. But we build a program from the bottom up. Here's girls and parents taking this year, 6, 7, 7 of them came from our school. It's just one of those things that if you build the program from the bottom up, you just keep reloading. You don't ever have to, get here's kids out of the we got enough kids that we get in numbers, he's going to make everything work from the high school. And I was telling him, hey, you guys know the coach and the army time, hang over the side, and you get about 3 games. So it's one of those things that they look forward to. It's very successful. So anytime they look up and what place are they in? What place are they in? What place are they at our banquet? He brings the kids. He brings the social and they come, right? So all the stuff we do let them talk at middle school stuff.
Just for a couple minutes.
But he's around all the time. In fact, he's there. Those kids just know him. They want to be with him. They want to be with him. So our program is built around, hey, this is known to where you want to be.
So, in addition to your coaching exploits, what other talents do you have? Right. We're going to take a 15-minute break, during which Eric is going to play some music for everybody during the break. Don't feel required to sit there and stare at him. He's going to play a couple songs, give us a chance to kind of reconnect it, ready to go for a can't hear that. Over here, for us. There's $10 for each. It's combined with the Miles Harvard Salyers.
Thank you.
Come over. Two things I have to start with is one is at the team direction, I certainly had 2 weeks there. In terms of, I handed a bunch of people material to look at, and we're going to talk about some of the material. So, how I'm going to go through maybe down and try to, that's perfectly okay. If it helps you see things better, that's going to be a great benefit. But also, I can't refer to pretty words. I don't believe there are any disparaging remarks about any of you in that book. In the depth of their are, my most sincere about it, especially the compliment, the great job you've done with the kids in your program. The second presentation we're going to do is really kind of meat and potatoes of any cross-country clinic. We're going to talk about training. And I'm not sure there's anything revolutionary that's going to be presented, but I hope that you take something with you that you can apply to your program. When we start talking about training, it starts with those foundations of business training. And to me, there's a plethora of those out there. And when I say that, I mean, if you can investigate or study, whether it's Linear or Fowlerman or Daniels or D. Hill, or now some of the modern names of Salyers or Steve Magnus, if you know him at all, and then I always like to tease Kevin or the Hanson people. There's a lot of different things out there that you can kind of study, and I encourage you to do so if you haven't already. Being an educated business coach, and I don't just mean that to trivialize what you do. What I'm saying is, invest some time and energy and figure out what's important to you, part of your reflection. And, there's more than one way to fry an egg. If anyone that knows me knows that I am not going to be critical or judgmental of anything that anybody else does in terms of training. And I'm not going to say you're doing it wrong. Because when I use these things, and I'll talk a little bit about it later, Tom Carney and I do things vastly different in our training. And we talk all the time, and we know what the other one's doing. And we both had tremendous success. And to me, that is continuing that lesson that there isn't just one way. And you've got to find what your way is to make it important. But I do propose you have a foundation and something that you can adapt to your surroundings, your resources, your coaching personality. All those things are important. And then just as a side note, I kind of threw it in here, I could put it another way. Those of you that are Twitter followers, there's 3 people that I suggest you follow on Twitter that are great coaching resources. And that is Coach Jay Johnson, he's out of the Boulder area. Coach Kim Bella, and if you follow him, and he's got like 10 psychological things and everything else about team and coaching and sports. And then Steve Magnus is he's been sift through the stuff. He's kind of a nerd, but he's got good stuff on there too. There's a lot of resources. For me, this is what I want to emphasize in terms of if you go through this. I train high school cross-country teams to run 5K cross-country races. And what that means is we race courses and we race competition. We look at the world through 7 runners running 3.1 miles. I am not writing a 5K training plan for the next issue of Runner's World. That's not how I think. That's not how my mind works. That's not the vacuum in which my kids operate. I will attempt to assist every runner maximizing their individual potential. Our training has many options and is adaptable to anyone willing to work hard and has interest in being part of the team. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to inspire every kid to believe in our program and the benefits of following through on it. Now, the products of this approach is routine running people, young people will fulfill their purpose. And that's something that's important. You'll have something to share, and life is much more worthwhile when you're sharing. And then by maximizing their opportunities, they control their own destiny, something that's very comfortable to them. And then when everyone is compared to themselves, they can always be successful. And I think those are some of the things that we look at and we grow from. I have to throw a lot of these personal views, and these are views. This is not a technical report. The more stuff we're going to talk about training, you're going to find out is the more that it's how I approach things. And this is a crazy, messed up mind. Okay, so don't judge. But I believe a plan is important. I'm a person that is always organized. Patience is rewarded in the end. And that's something that comes true year after year. Strength comes before speed, progression. And I mean that in the sense that what my young kids do is small potatoes compared to what my older kids do. And I'm willing to be patient and let it go. And I'm going to add and add and add. If you stay stagnant as a coach, the world will pass you by. The great coaches are the ones that are able to adapt and change and evolve with time. And, there's great value in the long run. And I'm also a firm believer in running is a total body effort. You have to concentrate on developing that body. So when we talk about training, getting beyond the distance running concepts, periodization is very important to me. Incremental load is important to me. Hard and easy are each very important. In fact, as important as the other. Never plan to run more than 1 mile more than you previously run. That's kind of our rule that our kids follow. So when you're building up in the summer, how far what's your longest run in the summer? 6. Okay, you can go 7 today. Now, notice I put in there, you never plan to run more, because we all know, anybody's a runner, your longest run is always when you got lost on. That's part of the sport. Young runners, I believe, and I know people that they do more on racing than they do training. And a lot of it has to do with the complexity and the things that I ask them to do in training. When they fire the gun and start line and finish line, I want to run hard, they can do that. So I'm an advocate of, I just race the young kids, and the older kids I can do what I need to do. It's important to build a total runner. That starts with I use analogies about that, car. We start with a frame. We've got to build a big frame. If our frame can't handle our motor, then it doesn't matter. And after we build that frame, then we're building that motor. Okay? Then I'm putting the wheels on that thing and it's rolling a little bit, and then we trim it out. Now we've got the aerodynamics and all the other things, and now it's really fast. And we kind of take to that notion of doing that. I'm really big on alternating workouts, mixing things, and I'll give you an example. If we're going to do a straight tempo run, for this time, the next time we do a tempo run, it's going to be fragmented and broken down. And the next time we're going to do straight. I'm always mixing and coming back so that that we're hitting different things in our training. And then recovery is as important as any workout you run. And that's the thing that people will continue to stress to you, and that's the number one violation office coaches have. Now, the elements are all the same. I mean, really, as we look at these things, there's nothing crazy. The long run. or the basic pillar, something. For us, I go up to 10 miles with the boys, who run maybe more than that, but not purposely. And the girls will run 8. And I know some people can run more. I still look at it as our goal is not to run miles, our goal is to run 5K high school fast. We do tempo runs for aerobic builders. We do them straight, we do them broken. We do hill work, a strength builder. We vary the degree, the angle. I don't run the same hill ever, twice in any of our workouts. We do interval stuff and really transition from speed to rhythm. And, think about it, I don't start intervals until the third week of September, late in the season. One of the things that's really important to us is ancillary work. You talk about your drills and your core work. Those of you that have seen, we have our warm-up routine in the packet, and you'll see that it is pretty extensive, and we spend that, we have a lot of different options, so I can vary it day to day and doing the things that I need to do. And as you look at those things, we do what we call kind of cals, and then we do drills, and we run it 800, we come back and do more drills, all those kind of things. Core work is essential, and that's kind of the modern development of running. We do strength training. I do more circuit training and stuff like that than I do in the weight room, particularly when the season starts, because it's dynamic, it's active, it gives me, it's fluid, it's aerobic, there's more I can do with that. And then the one question everybody asks me about all the time, so they know we do this, is the pool work. And I'll talk about that as much as we want at the end. For pool work for us, in the summer, especially the early season, we do a lot of swimming. I teach the kids to swim to be more efficient. In case the kid gets injured, they can be more productive in the pool. We swim for strength, and we swim for flexibility. When we get into the season, we spend more time swimming for recovery. And I know that, in terms of its mobility, its flexibility, it's not as much intensity, but it's got to be there. And we'll talk about that in the strength stuff. Our maintenance days are just days that we're just running. And so even though we have an extensive warm-up, we're going to go out, we're going to run, and we're going to come back and stretch. And there's a lot of those days, and like I say, the warm-up fills, but it's still a 2-hour practice session because of the things that we do. You'll see on my runs, almost every run has 3 options, 4, 5, or 6. And if you go 4 miles, 5 miles, or 6 miles. If any of you ever heard of Steph Thibodeau, he always went 6. He went 6 when he was a 23-minute freshman. He went 6 when he was a 15-25 senior. He always went 6. The kids know that. Still your choice. Recovery days. My recovery days are not easy. And when I say they're not easy, they're not abusive to the same systems that we attacked the day before, but they are comprehensive, they are lengthy, and they are challenging. So our recovery days start with an optional swim. As one of my seniors said, words of wisdom. When Sal says optional, it's not really optional if you're a varsity runner. There's some truth to that. We do it, our full warm-up, we're going to spend 15 to 20 minutes doing core work, we're doing hip mobility, we're doing hurdle drills, we're doing all those things the day after the meet, because I have the time to do it. Then we're going to run. We're going to run 4, 5, 6. Then we're going to come back and we're going to do circuits. The nice thing about circuits is, the kids that go shorter can do more circuits, the kids that go longer do less circuits. But it gives us a chance that we're all kind of coming back and we're finishing at the same time and doing different things. So, the recovery day is a lot of stuff, but it's not the same type of task as they go. One of the things that we go through, and as I said, we just have 3 options for all the runs. All our workouts have very specific designated times and have specific paces and reps, and I'll post things the day before, and I'll talk a little bit about how we kind of go through that. But everybody has a plan of what they're going to do, and it takes time, but it's worth it. When I organize a season, I look at it as finding the recipe. Here's the deal. We all have the same ingredients available to us. There's no mystery spice that none of us have. It's all pretty clean and simple. And when you look at that, you're the chef. You're responsible for putting it together. I likened it to a lesson I did in college when we were talking about the importance of having all these elements in a teaching program, and I baked cookies. Because I got to think outside the box. I have a hard time writing a paper and saying, well, we got to include this. So I made cookies. In one batch of cookies, I left out the sugar. In another batch of cookies, I left out the flour. Another batch of cookies, I left out the butter. And another batch of cookies, and I made 5 different cookies. I passed them around. How do they taste? I don't like this one. And then I tell them what's missing from each one. But the fact of the matter is, if we all have the same ingredients, how are we going to put these ingredients together to make that perfect cookie? I sent out some questionnaires to some of my colleagues and people, and I asked them, I said, I'm speaking for 3 hours of makeup. What do you want to know? Or what should I emphasize? And then one of my alumni came back and said, you know what? Your training is data-driven, but not data-focused. And what they mean by that, and we'll come back through it, is our plan is very calculated. So we're not afraid to deviate from that. Because we've got to have that element. Everything has a purpose. We're constantly evaluating and adjusting to the response of the athletes. Right, so another thing, if anybody knows me, they've heard about these. These are my post reports. This is how I do my training. I'm a visual person. This is every day for the summer. By the way, I already have 2015's done. Okay? Didn't bring it with me because I haven't selected the theme, and that's kind of important. This year I think was construction. So that's where you see the wood letters that I've detailed at the top. Didn't have what they're going to do. I have to see this because I have to look at the whole season. Kevin Beamer tried to get me to put it on a computer years ago. I said, Kevin, I can't scroll. I gotta be able to see it all at the same time. I gotta know what I'm gonna run this workout, that workout, whatever. That's very important. I gotta see my journey from the beginning to the end. And so for us, when you're sitting here laying this stuff out, you gotta know what are your priorities. I always begin with the end in mind. I work back everything from the first Saturday in November. That's the most important date to me. I've got to be patient, and I don't want to lose perspective of that. So that's kind of where I start off setting that plan. I've always got to know my priorities. And that can vary. I mean, I say, state meet's really important. If my team's not in a position to achieve the state meet, then I can adjust that. Because the league meet might be my priority. Or if I'm hosting an invitational with 600 schools that are coming to, that might take that might not be my be-all and end-all, but I can't work through that meet. My kids know what a big deal that is. So, a rivalry, those things. So I got to have my priorities. Now, this is something that we're going to kind of address on training segments. This goes back to that runner's world thing. Okay? In the real world, I operate in the real world. It's not 5 weeks of this, 5 weeks of that, 5 weeks of that. Why? Because my summer's available to me. I can meet in the morning, I can meet in the afternoon, I can meet in the evening. I have accessibility to drive to different places. If I want to go meet Ben Martin and the Rockford girls in Lansing and run, we can do that on Monday afternoon. Okay, so when I look at a season, segment 1 is the summer. That can be 6 to 8 weeks, June 1st to August 12th. Okay, that's segment 1. Segment 2 for me is the preseason. So that's about first day of practice to Labor Day. That's segment 2. Segment 3 is my competitive season. That's the dual meet. Yes, we run dual meets. That's a whole other discussion. I'm a huge advocate of dual meets. I know a lot of people have different views. I respect that. I love dual meets. Okay? But that's my dual meet season. That lasts 6 weeks. And then there's my championship season. That's from the Oakland County meet to the state finals. This year that changed a little bit because of the Jewish holiday, but that's the championship season. That's how I look at my season. That's how I formulate it. This is my calendar overview. I'm sure Chris Bush can't read that in there. That's okay. I can't read from here. Okay? But as we break it down and we'll get through some of the things and we'll talk about it, we'll get more specific because I know that you want to do that. My summer breakdown, as you look at this, I want to point out that it is all color-coded, so even if you can't read the stuff, it's still going to make sense. The red is for races or intense workouts. You'll notice there's really 3. Those are my 2 time trials, and I run a triathlon. So those are the only 3 times we really run hard in that 8 weeks in terms of a competitive effort, if you will. You'll notice the purple, that's off days. I schedule off days. Off days are important. One of the general rules, we're going to be talking about this, and my varsity runners included, we run 13 days. If you run every other Sunday, we take off. We may take off Sundays, a couple of Sundays. We may not get to 13 days. We never run more than 13 days. My younger runners, they just run 6 days a week. That's going to be fine. They did progression, and we're going to go with that. Yellow is for tempo work, which you don't see any in there. The green is for, I said, is for intervals. We went to camp, I kind of hazed those. It's not really intervals. Pink is for your long runs. We really haven't done any major long runs at this point. Blue is for water workouts as we go through. The thing to understand is, when I'm in the summer part, it's really one of the type of things that, in the old days, 20% of the schools were in the summer. This is my guess. If you were a team and you had a summer program and you were doing this with your kids, you were one of the top 3 teams in the state. Hard enough. You showed up, you were there. That has changed. If I say 50%, I'm probably selling it light. You've got 75 teams that are out there doing stuff with kids all the time. It's part of our culture. It's happening in all sports. It's going to evolve into ours. So you've got to have something that's working and it's out there. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things. You got to have kids show up and work. And the expectation of the student athlete is success does not come without the commitment to excellence. They have to connect the dots. Understand, if you want to be successful, you have to work hard. It's not an accident. Okay? And the thing I want to impress upon people, my summer program, and this came from one of my alumni, and it says, I am less concerned with finding a specific VDOT than I am about establishing the culture of work, a culture that embraces work. That's what my summer is about. Teaching kids to not just to work, to embrace the work, to want to work, to understand the work is going to fulfill them. That's important. That's where we go from there. For those, if you're not familiar with the term VDOT, that's rooted. We talk about Daniels. You use any of the Daniels stuff. I use Daniels for some of my basics. I think it's a great foundation. I don't follow the program. I do straightforward. It's something that I have over the years used to regulate the stuff that I do. When we get into the preseason, and this is where I talk about, this is the most intense period of season for my kids. There's less racing, and in fact, if you look in there, and it's hard to color code, there's one race. We run the Milford Open, and I don't even run a race. So when you're going through that time period and you're not really racing, that also means that you don't have to have pre-meet days. So it means that there's not as many easy days. And if you look at these, I double almost all the time. Now, I talked about going to camp in July. This training program, and the one that's in the booklet, is from 2012. So this is 2014, this is 2013. This one right here, yes, you notice the bright colors, very nice. Okay. And basically, the reason I typed that one up, because I can type all this in to do that, is that was a good year for us. In fact, for our boys in particular.